Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to do a little bit of Arnold rendering here. Let's just turn this off. We'll grab some faces here. Whoop, and I'll just extrude this for a second. Keep face together. Let's turn that off. Come on, you bastard. There. Scale this down a bit. And I'll hit extrude again, extrude those up a bit, and I just want to give them some range so I get something interesting to look at. So I'm just going to hit transform, whoop, and then I'll go over here to random, whoop, there, wonderful. Okay, I just want to do some renders here in Arnold. I'm just going to double check. I've got a few things on here, Arnold Renderer. Okay, everything's going to be cool. I'm going to Arnold. I'm going to create a light, so I'll get an area light. Boop. And let's pull this up. I'm going to make it big. And let's rotate it over 90 degrees. Okay. And let's just go and throw on Arnold. Now I know that my renderer, when it's on, it slows everything down on my computer. So hopefully things don't go crazy when I'm recording and rendering at the same time. Okay. And I'm just going to hit Control A and open up my attribute editor. Okay, and I'm just going to increase the exposure. Usually I kind of ballpark it around 10 to start off with. And there, and then I can play with my intensity, and you can see it all starting to come into play. Okay, and what I want to do is really clean up my noisy render. Okay, and if I take this thing and let's put the camera on here. Okay, just gotta wait for it to finish doing its thing. Put the camera on. So that's my initial thing, and you can see there's a lot of noise in here. So let's also put on the render tiles as I'm rendering. Okay, so the big thing is, first thing to clean up noise is your lights have samples. Okay, and the samples, let's just go and hit 8. These are kind of multiplied by the settings here in the renderer, but I kind of go for 8 for some weird reason. Maybe it's a V-Ray throwback. I'm just going to move this over a little bit, but oh my god, that cleaned it up so much. Remember that your lights, the shadows, or the softness of the shadows is based on the size of the light. So if I take this light, okay, you can immediately see that cleaned it up when I did this. And I'm just trying to use my hotkeys. There we go. And if I make this small, my shadows should be a bit sharper. Okay. And let's just turn that down a bit more. And I can't do anything really fast as I'm rendering. Anyway. Whoop. Okay. And if I go back over here and I hit 1:1, you see that's a lot cleaner. If I save that and then we look at the original, there's all the noise you can see right there. Look at this new one. Oh yeah, hard shadows, bit of noise in there. I can still kind of come in and clean that up, but that's the first thing to know. Lights, size of your light, and the samples. Next thing you do is in the render settings, when I go into the Arnold Renderer, this is the next part that's important. Okay, this is the anti-aliasing, and this thing here multiplies these things, these settings down here. And one other thing to remember is diffuse is actually your global illumination. If you turn it 0, you basically turned it off. And let's see, it's loading up, and there we go. There's no global illumination, there's no bouncing light, and everything kind of cleans up a little bit. And if I hit 1:1, if I can reach my cursor up here, great. Okay, that's really clean. There's no noise, and that's because I've just gotten rid of it. You could dial this up to 2. Just you gotta be careful once you go over 4, so you're gonna notice everything starts to slow down. And also I put on my little over here in the windows, the render tiles. These are also something like when you're in V-Ray, they're like render buckets. And I've noticed this strange behavior when I go over to the system. I've noticed if you change this to 32, I noticed when you're in V-Ray, that renders faster. If you go any lower, it doesn't. Okay, it takes longer to render, but 32 seems to be a magic number. I could be wrong, but that's what I seem to notice all the time. Renders slightly faster. Going back over to the Arnold render, and I can put this up to say 4, I probably wouldn't go much beyond that, because you'll start to notice this multiplies all these other settings here, and it'll start to slow you down. If you don't have any reflections in your scene, you can dial that down. Take your transmissions, that's your refraction, you can turn that down if you don't have anything refracting, and it might speed you up. Triple S, get rid of those. You might notice a slightly faster render. And volume indirects, that's your fog, that we can turn that down too. Okay, and anything else I got to worry about? I'm just going to keep these on and see if anything bad happens. If I go down here, there's an adaptive sampling. And this can speed you up and slow you down at the same time, because it can give you a really nice clean render. Okay, come on, little cursor. If I enable it, what this does is it goes in and it, see if it sees all this black area up here, it's just going to skip through this really fast. This little sample does a little sample. If there's no difference, then it goes in and doesn't bother to do the sample in between. But if it notices a difference, then it goes in and recalculates those areas, and you'll see you get a much nicer render out of the whole deal. Okay, 20 might be a little bit high. I might go down to like 12. And you can keep taking it down and further, or you can start lower and figure out what you need. Okay, I just turned it down to 12. I'm trying to zoom in right here. Actually, the 20 was looking really nice there a moment ago, and you can see a little bit of noise in here. Okay, but you can only notice that when I zoom in. If I put this back and to 20, it'll give you more samples, but it can slow down your render time, right? And also down here, the adaptive threshold, if it's lower, it's going to be a finer sampling. If it's higher, then it's going to be a rougher one. It's going to favor the 4 up here. So this one will let you have more sampling, try to smooth out bad noise. And you can see actually with 12 and the default 0.015, that's doing a pretty good job. I'm trying to move my cursor over. Where did it go? Okay, now I just gotta wait. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I just moved my mouse too fast. If I go down further here, I gotta start to get a new computer soon. I know it's gonna happen soon. Ray depth. This can also help with your finer tunes for having cleaner renders in Arnold. Here, like your specular is down at 1. That should be 2, maybe 3. Okay, the diffuse. This'll. What is it? And as I remember, this total here for the ray depth should be the sum of all of these. And the transmission is for your refractions, right? So right now it's sitting at 8, so that's a lot. I want to have this total be the total number of bounces I've got here, so that should be 12, or I can dial this down. I don't have any refractions in the scene, so I can dial this down quite a bit. Okay, I could probably just turn it off for the refractions, and okay, give me that number so I can just change it to 4 because the slider is just not working for me. There. And that's how you clean up your render. I'm just going to wait and see what this looks like. So it's going in, doing some calculations, and la 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 la. I'll just zoom right in, see if I can zoom in using my little wheel. And we can see that this is much cleaner. There's little bits of noise in here, but you got to see if that actually affects you or not. If I make the lights bigger, then I'm going to have softer shadows and things like that, but I'm getting some nice bounce. And what does it say, 20? Here, what I might do is I'm just going to pause. I'm going to let it finish, and I'll just show the difference between the two. Come on, pause, goddamn. Okay, so there's the finished render, and then if I go back to the snapshot 1 here, you can see the first render. So you can see all this freaking noise all over the place. And actually, let's turn it off. I should save that one so I have something to compare to. This one here. Hide, delete this snapshot. Okay, as I've been playing around, so there's 1, and there's 3. So you can see clean. And I'll hit 1 to 1 over here. And I'm going to stop this video here.